Right, hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Look, this is going to be a by-election results video, the 6 we got to go through from last night. There's actually not too much to say on those. A lot of it went the way that we thought it would in the preview video for a change. So not too much to say on those. We will go through them in a bit, but I thought you guys would want to see this poll and talk about it a bit more. I did do a short yesterday, a short video on this. Look, extraordinary poll. Let's start by saying it is an outlier. Okay, Reform, this is the highest they've ever been shown to be polling in Westminster figures. Obviously really bad for Labour, but look, it is an outlier. No poll has Reform this high. Most of them have them around 20%. Labour in most polls aren't this low. They're around 25-26%. So it is an outlier, okay, but it is still a legit polling company that have found this result, so it's worth talking about. Let's look at the map. So this isn't on election maps itself. This is just on their X. It's a screenshot they posted on their X account. So unfortunately, I can't zoom it in, and there's no data to go with it. So apologies for that. But let's just cast our eyes over it. Look at. You can see straight away the turquoise across the map. If we scroll up, we can see this has them Reform getting 107 seats, which is really incredible. I think that's more seats than the Lib Dems have ever had in my lifetime. But look, if you cast your eyes up to the top of the screen here, right at the top right of England, you can see, which is the northeast, you can see all that turquoise in that area, which is Sunderland, Newcastle, Durham. That is solid red. After the general election this year, let's have a look here. We'll scroll up. There it is. That is how it looks like at the moment, the parliamentary constituencies as they stand. And it's just solid red, all up here. We've spoken before about Houghton and Sunderland South. That's the Education Secretary. Easington, Sunderland itself, South Shields, all red, and importantly, all areas that Labour held in 2019. You can see this is a Labour hold in 2024. They didn't gain this off the Conservatives. These are all areas of the country that Labour held on to, even in 2019 when they got hammered across the country under Jeremy Corbyn. But we go back to this map and we see that whole area, that whole corner of England being turned turquoise almost. I think it looks like Labour are going to hold on to maybe 5 or 6 constituencies in there. That's catastrophic for Labour, like really, really that damaging for them. If we move down to Yorkshire and Greater Manchester area, you can see the same thing. And we spoke a lot about this area in the video the other week. This is where you've got John Healey, the Defence Secretary, Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister. They're all in this area. And again, if we look at the results for 2024, we can see this whole area also is solid red. All the way across this swathe of England is just solid red, with a couple of the independents who won, of course, in Yorkshire and Greater Manchester. But then we go back to the map, and again, you can just see turquoise interspersing itself throughout that area of the country. And look, this is really damaging for Labour. Look, it is an outlier of a poll. I think the thing to take from this is not the poll itself, more the fact that this isn't an outrageous or an outlandish thing to imagine happening now. Look, a year ago this was unthinkable. 8 months ago this was unthinkable. To have a party come from essentially nothing to having over 100 seats and cutting through Labour heartlands like this is really extraordinary in the UK's political system. It's never really happened. Look, to go and like I say, in my lifetime, I think the Lib Dems, the highest number of seats they've had, it might be now, in fact, with the amount they have, or maybe in 2010 they had a bit more. But, you know, for a third party to have triple figures of seats in Parliament, this is stuff we haven't seen before in the UK. And look, on current trajectories, although this poll at the moment may not be the best representation of how things currently stand, I don't think we're too far away from this being the situation on the way things are currently going. Look, Labour we're going to see it in the by-election results in a minute. Labour polling numbers are dropping fast, and their votes are going to the Reform Party. The Conservatives are staying roughly about where they are. They're not really moving too much. Look, I said at the end of that short, British politics is going to get wild, and I think I want this channel to be the place to be on YouTube, where we can have a community that talks about it and engages with this stuff, because you know, I've been reading through some of your comments, and some of them are great, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Do get in the comments and let me know what you think about this. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe to the channel, because I think British politics is going to get very interesting and frankly quite entertaining if you're into this sort of stuff. And I'd love this channel to be a community where it's the best place to come and get that sort of content. So yeah, if you haven't joined us yet, come and subscribe, leave a like on the video, and I think, like I say, British politics is going to get wild. Anyway, that's all I've got to say on that. I thought you guys would want to have a bit more of an in-depth look at it compared to what I had on the short yesterday. But for now, let's go ahead and look at the by-election results, shall we? So we will start in Cardiff, Splot by-election, or Splot ward in Cardiff Council. And look, what we said Labour would probably have a big enough lead here to absorb a big hit to their vote share. And that's what's happened. Labour have lost 30% of their vote. That's really quite extraordinary again. Huge drop in their vote share in an area of the country that is very much a stronghold for them. The Greens are in second, as they were previously. I should mention, as you can see at the bottom here, previously the Greens and Plaid Cymru ran together on a joint ticket. This time they separated, but the Greens have come second. But you can see actually from second down to fifth, the vote share's pretty even. Just 13% for Reform and 17% for the Greens, only 4% separating them. So actually that's probably helped Labour as well. If any one of those parties had managed to gain, or if one of those parties had not stood, there's a good chance that one of the other parties would have been able to overtake Labour here. So look, Labour have won. They're comfortably ahead in this heartland area because of the sort of split of votes amongst the other parties. But look, it's not a good result for Labour, really, to lose 30% and essentially be saved by the vote being split by other parties. Bad news for Labour there, although they did win. Fylde Council, Kilgrimore Ward, we said the Conservatives would be in with a good chance of winning here. We said it'd be interesting to look at how Reform do, and they did pretty well, up from a standing start straight away up to almost 28% of the vote, comfortably in second behind the Conservatives. And look at Labour again. I mean, look, it's not a Labour area, Fylde, it is a Conservative constituency. But look, they're half their vote again, and they've been relegated to fourth place there. So look, good news for the Conservatives, getting a council seat and increasing their vote share by about 10%. Reform performing strongly, but again, it's not good for Labour. Shinfield Ward in Wokingham. Again, we said the Conservatives probably be in with a good chance here. If you remember, the Labour councillors stood down for personal reasons, and we said, because the Conservatives had actually performed quite well in this ward previously, that if Labour's vote share declined anything like we've been used to seeing in these by-elections, the Conservatives would be in a good chance of winning. And we also said they would compound their win if they were able to increase their vote, as they've done across England, by increasing their vote share by 10%. And that's exactly what happened. No Reform standing probably helped too, but Tories up to almost 50% of the vote and winning in Wokingham. So good night for the Conservatives. In Scotland, so bit of a funny one really, because of the single transferable vote system, where you essentially preference who you want to elect on a first to last basis, and because the wards have more than one councillor each, they tend to be represented by 3 or 4 councillors. Because the SNP lead in this ward on the first preferences, Labour only had a councillor here by virtue of the preferencing system, where the votes transferred to Labour, and so the SNP got, I think, 2 councillors. Labour got 1 by virtue of the preferencing. So it's an SNP gain from Labour, but really it's actually an SNP hold, because if it was just 1 councillor in a first past the post system, you would expect SNP to win. Therefore, SNP have gained from Labour, but it's actually an SNP hold. And in Partick East in Kelvindale in Glasgow, it's the opposite. It's just the opposite situation. Labour have gained from SNP, but really it's a Labour hold because they're ahead on the first preferences. That's probably a really bad description of what happens here in Scotland. And if you're Scottish, or you know how this vote system works a bit better than I do, please do leave a comment. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's my understanding of how this works. So look, 1 for Labour, 1 for the SNP. They've switched kind of honours even, really. In terms of vote share, same trend we've seen. Labour doing all right in Scotland, increasing 5%, SNP down 5%. That's pretty much what we've seen in all the Scottish by-elections recently. And Reform again stood in Stirling East and came straight in at in third place with 14%. that's another trend that we've been seeing recently. Reform coming into third place in Scotland. Lastly, we're going to look at Chelsea, South Oxfordshire, and the Lib Dems did hold this comfortably this time. I didn't want to say they're going to win comfortably because the last time I did that, the Lib Dems made me look like a clown by losing or getting hammered in vote share. They increased their vote share very healthily, up to over 60% of the vote. And I think Oxfordshire maybe is becoming a bit of a Lib Dem heartland. If we look at the general election results in Oxfordshire, you can see it's pretty much all orange these days. So yeah, I think maybe they've wrestled that part of the country away from the Conservatives for the time being, and it's become a bit of a heartland for them. So that's a good result for the Lib Dems there. Looking at how it stands then, we've now had Labour defending 86 seats in these by-elections, and they've only managed to actually successfully defend 56 of them, as you can see. They've got 62 in total because 6 of them they've won from elsewhere. But Labour have not been doing well. You can see, if I bring the screen across, you can see the vote share. Labour have gone from 33% of the vote in these by-elections before the general election to now 25%. So they've lost a significant amount of the vote. The Conservatives aren't up that much. You can see that 23%, well, just under 23% to 23.5%. The biggest incline on the votes there is really for Reform, who have come from almost 0 to taking 7% of the vote, and that's really going back to what we saw at the start of this video. That is the story in British politics at the moment. It's Reform are surging in the polls. They're surging in these by-elections. They're going to be a problem for both the Labour and the Conservative Party. And I plan to be right on top of it in this channel. So if you like this content, please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video. We've got more by-elections next week, and there are a couple in areas of fertile ground for the Reform Party as well. So that'll be interesting to see. Make sure you don't miss it. Come and join the community. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.